Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Firefly Tarot. So today we're doing a special pick a card for all of you creators out there. So whether you're writers, artists, business owners, any kind of like content creators, musicians, anything, this reading is for you. So this is Spirit's advice on your creative project or your creative blockage. So it may get really specific in some areas, or obviously the message might be a little bit more general. It is really going to depend. So just go into this with an open mind and just kind of see what flows for you. So I did get some good feedback of putting the cards face up. And since like I said, I've never done that before where I actually drew the card before the reading. So I did that again here. So this deck is the Sacred Creators Oracle by Chris Ann. And you can look at the card or the selection of the crystals, which I'll show you in a second, to make your choice for this reading. Okay, so group number 1, we have the orange calcite. And your card says, nourish the sacred feminine. Group number 2, we have the angel or agate tower. And your card says, stop, drop, and ground. Group number 3 is the sodalite sphere. And your card says, fill your cup with sacred giggles. And group number 4 is the green-purple fluorite. And your card says, collaboration of souls. Okay, so whichever one your eye kind of drifts towards, you can take as much time as you need. Just pause the video if you have to. And if it doesn't call to you now, you can just save the video and watch it at a different time. It might fit a little bit better with some of you in like maybe 3 days or so. But anyway, so take as much time as you need, and whenever you guys are ready, I will see you at your reading. Hey everyone, this is the reading for those of you who chose group number 1, which is the orange calcite. And your card is Nourish the Sacred Feminine. So I am going to get you some messages from the book first, and then I will move into the tarot messages to see exactly what's going on. I really like what they have to say here. So the inner feminine, they're bringing on the essential meanings here, like yin, inner knowing, and the unconscious mind, listening to intuition, kind of just letting the psychic messages come towards you, I would say. They do have a self-care message, and this one says illusions, fear or anxiety about the unknown, potentially missing something that you can't see, a time to let go of negative self-talk and tap into your innate inner knowing, work to be done with the shadow self. So far, group 1, I don't know if it resonates, but I mean, it honestly probably does, because this is a common problem, is the fear aspect of creation. I just mentioned to someone today that I was trying to do some of my own creative stuff, like notes and writing, but I have noticed this is my, I guess my personal advice to you guys, that the best way to be creative and to channel this is to relax. And I say that because most of creativity is channeling, right? Meaning the information psychically and creatively and whatever is out there already somewhere, and what we're doing, in my opinion, is channeling this by receiving it and kind of filtering it down onto the piece of paper or the whatever you're looking at, and that does require us to be able to receive. So that means that we have to relax and just trust that process. And you know, for me personally, if I'm not relaxed and I'm overthinking it and too much in my logic brain and too much trying to force it and control the situation, it doesn't work. So for me, what I tried to do was I just tried to relax by listening to the music associated with my writing, and it helped a little bit, but at the same time, I just wasn't quite in the energy, and I accepted that. I think that that's part of it too, is to not force it, to just accept that sometimes we're not in that headspace, we're not in that energy, and maybe that's okay. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but there are some tips there. Now, further into their message, before I just get the tarot for you, it says, I think this is like really tiny, but I think you might be able to take a nice shot of this. Hold on. Okay. So it says, now is a time of deep introspection as you wait for an idea to grow and develop. You've planted the seeds, and sometimes divine timing requires a period of rest as things culminate and ripen. That's So true. I often talk about the fact that it has to be like the fruit has to be ripe on the tree and we can't force it. The moon asks you to be open to receive, to reflect, to pause and collapse into waiting. She's the waning crescent that casts a moonlit glow over the landscape of your life. She has trickled light onto your path, but only very dimly, because she hopes that you will listen for the subtle signs and the wise whispers that are all around you. It's time to look directly into the shadows at any lingering wounds that may continue to affect your current understanding. Remember that in the dark, it's easy to blow fear and illusions out of proportion. Don't strain to see which you cannot see right now. Instead, focus on your inner knowing and on what you can see. Allow your intuitive nudges and any persistent feelings to help you translate her gentle illuminations. You must trust yourself. This is really, really solid advice. Okay. I hope that some of that did call to and resonate with you. The way that I take that, like I said, is just to not be afraid to relax, not be afraid to let the information come to you, not be afraid to receive. So let's see if we can get any kind of specifics. Spirit, what is your advice? And then I'll see if you guys need anything for blockage. Spirit, what is your advice on their current creative project or just anything they need to hear? Group 1. Well, the first thing here, they're just saying to continue to work hard in the way that you have been. So there's nothing wrong with either what you're doing or how things are going. It is just moving forward at the pace that it's meant to. And for those of you that have been feeling stuck for a long time, even years, you might not agree with that. But we have to remember that everything is in divine timing, and that timing is often sort of this three-dimensional illusion. So how I take that is that the soul, your spirit, and your spiritual path and your energy, everything is timeless there. And I guess in the end, it doesn't really matter how long it takes, because that is the three-dimensional measure. But what really matters is the pacing and the rhythm and the melody of your own soul. And again, that does take a ton of trust and relaxation in this process, which is not an easy thing to do. So maybe if you do resonate with that, if you do agree with that, maybe just put the project down for a minute, even for like a few days or however long you feel you need, and just come back into resonating with your soul, just relaxing, opening up within your soul and within your voice, I think is what they said. Spirit, any other advice besides this on their creative project? Yeah, they kind of said the same thing. I guess they agree. We're just taking a break. So I gave you that example earlier, so I'll take my own advice. I'll take a little bit of a break, and then that is true, because like every time I have gotten stuck, I take the break, I take a step back, kind of just breathe. I really feel like meditation is so crucial. I'll do that later. Okay. You can use crystals as well in your practice, which is really nice, but just, try not to expect anything either. It will float to you when the time is right. I think inspiration and creativity is its own animal, and it's just like, you can't tell me what to do. I think that we have to let it come through. We cannot, even if we try so hard forever, we can't force it. It really is this live being. It's amazing how stubborn it can be. Okay. What else, please? What is the advice on their project? I mean, you will find this happiness, okay, group 1. So I am feeling within around 3 days from when you're watching this, I'm feeling a really bright energy coming through. I mean, it's hard to say where this is coming from. This could be just like inspiration, joy, heart chakra. It could be inner child happiness. It could be something really exciting and happy happening in your 3D world too. So whatever's going on here. 3 days from when you're watching this, the majority of you are going to be bringing in this creative, inspiring energy, or at least it's related to that, or it will lead to that. So that's not exactly advice, but just let this come through. Anything else? And then we'll see. So we have the sun and the moon together. How poetic is that, right? It's kind of like this divine counterpart energy, which leads me to the next part of the reading, which for some of you, if you've been blocked. Okay, so now we're getting into possible creative blockage. this is not going to resonate for all of you. It depends on what you're making here, what you're creating. But it does look like there's this concept of balance, or even of counterparts, or of maybe yin and yang. Some of you, if you're dealing with two separate characters, people, issues, whatever, there is a balance and a flow to it. So this is something actually my guides told me, or whoever it was, the universe told me recently, and it did fit with my situation. So for some of you, I hope that this helps, where it seems like there's two aspects of things, like night and day, the sun and the moon, the yin and the yang, like I said, almost like fire and water. Actually, yeah, that's what this is, fire and water. So what they're asking you to pay attention to here is, I suppose, the notion of balance and duality, and how this can drive the project forward. Or let's say if you're writing a book, like how does it drive the scene forward? So again, this is a little bit difficult for me to comment on, being that it is general, but just try to see how this resonates for whatever it is you're working on, where maybe you are focusing too much on one person or character or energy's perspective, and then this is asking you to come into a little bit of a balance. How can you sort of marry the two energies? How can you portray two sides of the same coin? So like I said, this is a little hard for me to make sense of this, but I hope for whatever it is you're working on, it is making some sense. Like that would be an example if you're doing something with writing. Now you have, instead of one character, instead of one perspective, now we have the energy of a separate one, and how that balances and how that kind of is almost like the interplay of those, they call, the juxtaposition. Like how can we portray the beauty of those two things together, the way that we look at the sun and the moon and night and day. Now, if you're doing something like art, that would be more of a visual representation. So if you feel like you're missing something in whatever it is you're working on, look at the other aspect of it. Look at the opposite aspect of it. So if you're focusing more on the light aspect, how can you bring in the dark aspect? This does not mean positive and negative or good or bad. It's literally the yin and yang. If you're working on something more of like realistic, like it's whether it's like a business plan or some other idea in the 3D world, same thing. If you're focusing only and like, I guess, too much on one particular perspective, look at the other perspective. How does it affect other people that you haven't thought of? How does it incorporate some opposite audience to what you've been focusing on? And that makes sense. So it concludes to this sort of well-rounded approach and well-rounded perspective. And I noticed the Justice card at the bottom giving me the same vibe, that this is the balance. And it's also fair. I don't know if that also has to do with whatever, some of the projects, I don't know. Spirit also, is there anything else, like if any of them are blocked, is there anything else that they need to hear? Well, this is nice, and this is always going to be nice. I think this is for everybody, but for you guys specifically, I do think that there's going to be some help and support that is available to you. Yes, I'll always say that your guides will help you. That's kind of, for me, it goes without saying, but there's also other people that you can talk to and that you can bounce ideas off of. And this is always going to be helpful because it stirs the energy. It sparks the energy, and that spark will then catch on to more energy streams, and it'll light this fire. Okay, that's what inspiration, I feel, is. It's like that fire energy, that passion energy. So see if you can talk to someone this week. They're not saying it's going to happen with a guarantee, so you might need to make this happen, or at least try to make this happen, where either you're talking to someone in person, bouncing off those ideas, or you're maybe even just, at the bare minimum, you could just be asking someone a question. If you really can't get together with anybody or talk to someone this week, you can even just look it up online and maybe forums or like whatever, see what other people have to say. That still counts. Whatever is the case, you're still getting support and some type of energy pulling, towards you. It'll be mutually beneficial too if the other person was also similarly kind of struggling or in a blockage. Okay, so we have the Emperor here. The Emperor card is really making me feel like you guys are continuing forward in a way that's like sort of structured. And that's actually, in this case, I do think it's a really good thing. I think it's an advantage, only because you're trying to create a habit out of whatever it is you're working on, which again, we go back to 8 of Pentacles. So there's really, that is a good thing in a way of that. there's a stability and a foundation of what you're doing. So maybe you are able to work on something almost every day. That doesn't mean that the inspiration will always be there. But in this case, I feel like the structure and the discipline is definitely the other side of things besides just inspiration. As much as I talk about inspiration and channeling and creative energy, there is a very obvious benefit to the practical side and logical side of things, because you guys probably already know it's like we have this idea, this abstract thing of like what we hope it will be, but if we don't have those practical habitual steps, then it really doesn't have the opportunity to become real in this 3D world. So there's that. And again, please, if you ever get stuck or frustrated, just relax, let it go, and then work on something else, that calls to you. In the same vein, I guess. Anything else that they need to know? Advice on their creative project, or if they have any blockages, any other advice? I mean, here it's just saying that you're going to continue. You're going to keep going. This is by day 4. I think from when you're watching this, I do feel like any kind of blocks will be lifted, which sounds great. That's a very short amount of time. And it's hard to say exactly where you're going to go with this, but I see that it's going to flow open for you. They did give me this image of sort of like water rushing through. And it very well could be like a dam opening and all of the water just surging, okay? So that's really good news for you, because I feel like it's not going to stop. And it's going to feel really exciting. I don't know if maybe you're going to have some sleep disruptions. I don't know if that happens for you guys. That definitely happens to me. And I don't know. Let me know if that does happen here. Like you kind of get some insomnia, or you just are super wired. That could be your brain doing that, but it also could be the surge of energy doing that as well. So that could explain it. Anything else specific that they need to know about their project, and anything within it that we can help them with? Just any final messages here for group 1? Yeah, so I mean, they are kind of repeating this message. 7 of Wands is showing that there is a little bit of forcefulness here, and you do have to put that wand down, because they did say that you are a little bit of unintentionally blocking some piece of information, vital information from coming through. Don't worry, because it will lift, as I said, but just be aware. I think just by being aware, it will help, because then you almost can know what to look out for. So this vital information, it could be a piece of truth that you needed to know. It could be almost like a puzzle piece that you did not previously see. Like I said, it is going to fall into place. So that's really nice confirmation. They really won't say much else about what the Ace of Swords is, that particular piece of truth, but that's part of this. That's part of the surging energy coming through. It'll all become clear. It'll all make sense. But if you're looking at your project in front of you now or whenever, and you're wondering what could that possibly be, like, it may not come to you in that moment, but again, if you just acknowledge it energetically and say, okay, I'm open to receiving the full truth of my whatever it is you're working on, whether it's a scene or a drawing or this or that, okay? Just if you say that affirmation and maybe ask your guides for that lift and that clarity, I think it'll come through, and your higher self. Any final messages for group number 1, please and thank you. Okay, so with the 2 of Pentacles here, this looks like you are either juggling something and kind of feeling indecisive about something, or that you just simply have to make a decision about something. I'm going to give you an example and expand on it, because otherwise it's going to be too vague. So in my world, because I do creative writing, I am working on a specific project, which is a book, and in my case, what helps me to craft the scene, because it's very long, what helps me is to break it down. And then when I break it down into these subsections, what I like to do is I like to kind of give a title to each subsection, because it helps me to focus the energy and to focus the point. Like we need a point and a purpose to what we're doing. And I like to come up with the first line and the last line. It's almost like a creative sandwich, and whatever flows in between it, I hope for the best. Now obviously you don't need to do that, but that is kind of what I mean by this energy. It feels like making some sort of decision, kind of grabbing onto something as an anchor or a hook or something like that. So how can I apply that? If you're doing something more visual or musical or whatever, I would recommend to allow the solid parts to come towards you. So for example, if you hear a particular either line or rhythm or any kind of words, or if you see some solid visual, grab onto that. That is your anchor, that is your hook. And whether it has a beginning and a middle, a beginning and an end, or just the beginning, it doesn't really matter. Just hold on to that. That's what you need. That could also apply to if you're doing, again, something more realistic, whether it's like a business plan or this or that. Come up with just the solid points and then grab onto those and then run with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing ever has to be linear at all in creativity. So just grab onto what you can and then just fly with that, and then come back to fix the rest of the stuff later, or at least add to it. Okay, so final advice, final message, anything. Okay, they said a lot is still being revealed to you. Please be patient with them. They're not going to show you all at once. The nature of this is step by step, and there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately, but that is the whole thing of trusting and, I guess, surrendering. Okay, but the universe is on your side. I mean, clearly they are. Okay, so group one, I hope that some of this resonated. I don't really know, what I'm channeling as I do these, but I can only hope. So yeah, that is what I have for you guys in group one. Please let me know below if this did resonate, if it helped. And if you enjoyed this, then feel free to subscribe. It really helps my channel. And if you want a personal reading, the info is below. Okay, thank you guys so much. Sending you blessings, and I will see you next time. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, this is the reading for those of you who chose group number 2, which is the Angel or Agate Tower. And you also picked Stop, Drop, and Ground. So I am going to first give you a little bit of the insights. I'm not going to read the entire thing from the Sacred Creators Oracle Guidebook, and then I will move into Tarot. And I do hope that any of this is going to resonate with you guys. I always try to get a little, like this book is really small, but I hope that you can get some kind of a screenshot from this. So let's get into it. So with Stop, Drop, and Ground, some of the things that they're talking about here is to just be mindful and to be present, to take a pause. Now, they do have a self-care message here, and it says, feeling undeserving of joy, learning to accept your past, releasing limiting beliefs, a need to spend time with people you love, taking notice when you are in overdrive, feeling overwhelmed, and a need to relax. So they say, how long has it been since you gave yourself a moment to pause, just for the joy of it? If you have been caught up in the hustle or feeling anxious or stressed about the future, it's time for a pause. Full stop. It's time to ground yourself with self-love. Drop onto your yoga mat, drop in on movie night with family, or drop into laughter with your besties. Seriously, your soul is asking for this. And while stopping and dropping can feel drastic, especially if you've been on a hamster wheel of busy for a while, it's also perfect medicine for resetting and realigning your goals with the path you're on. If you're taking on unnecessary work that feels soul-sucking, you need to stop. If you're repeatedly worrying about metrics, relationships, or money, you need to stop. Ruminate with Rumi instead. Grab a tea and play hooky from your to-do list for a while. Know that you are deserving of this sacred pause. Stop, Drop, and Ground isn't about sticking your head in the sand and pretending that everything is wonderful when it's not. It's about chanting positive mantras when you are honestly feeling like muck inside. It's about finding the real happy wherever you are. It's about actively pursuing grounded presence today while remembering that it doesn't have to be perfect to be perfectly blissful. So I see what they're saying is that in order for you to move forward with your goals, your path, your creative project, whatever is going on, even with your own personal development, you do need to have a reset button, because I don't know if you've been feeling particularly stuck, but it is true and it does make sense that we have to first pause and recenter and reground before we can really make progress. Otherwise, it's almost like we're working against ourselves if we keep trudging forward. If we keep forcing ourselves forward and we don't have that cleanse and that clarity and that strength, then all we're really doing is we're kind of just dragging ourselves and forcing ourselves forward, and we're going to keep losing strength and steam every single step of the way. And so the way we can prevent that is just to pause, recollect your energy, regain and replenish, and then you can proceed. I don't know if that resonates for you guys, but in terms of your creative projects, I hope that some part of that does. I don't know if it's also relevant to what you're creating literally, right? But let's see. Let's get some tarot messages. Spirit for group number 2. Angel or Agate Tower, please give us a message for, or Spirit, what is your advice for their creative project, or if they have a blockage. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so if you do have this extreme, intense level of fear and anxiety, not only for the creative project, but for pretty much anything, and then it is affecting your creative project, that is what they were saying in the book, is you need to stop, meaning you need to pause, okay? It's not that it was trying to tell you what to do, it's saying you literally need to come to a stop. And I do agree with that if it is becoming extreme, okay? So see if you can drop into the first chakra healing, okay? So listen to some nice chants or meditation frequencies on YouTube. Go into nature, sit in the soil if you can. If not, just like maybe cross-legged on the floor in your home, just like anything where you can ground. If you do have grounding crystals, that would be great. Maybe hematite or anything red usually. Visualizing nature as well. Okay, so now on their creative project, like let's get into that realm. Is there anything specific they need to hear advice-wise? So this is, I'm not sure if this is in the realm of it, like if this is what's going on in the work itself, or it's more you, but there is success going on here, okay? So whether this is you being successful or the content has to do with someone's success, okay? So we do have success, we do have someone feeling confident about their skills, we do have someone continuing forward and kind of holding their head up high no matter what anybody else thinks. So I don't know how this resonates for what you're working on, but this is the energy we're seeing. What else, please? Advice? This is really about freedom, okay? Whoever or whatever this is talking about, the energy is very free and unburdened and also new. New chapter, new hopefulness, lots of bright and refreshing energy coming through in all directions. Some of you, there also could be a little bit of a hint of travel or adventure as well, and others of you, it could be something more so with childhood or youthfulness and like that hopeful, playful energy. Smaller number of you, there could be some type of animals involved and innocence and purity. So maybe some of the advice that's implied here is just let things be natural. Do not inhibit or restrain or block in any way. So again, whether it's like a person or yourself or an energy or whatever's going on here, allow the freedom to come through, because it is only through that all of the other answers or puzzle pieces will fall into place. There's a lot of beauty within that. My eye is drawn to flowers outside, all the way across the street. They're daffodils, and they're this beautiful bright yellow, and they're just kind of dancing in the wind. So there's like some message there. There's also a flower here. I don't know if there's literal significance for some of you, but yeah, let things just be exactly as they are, in their natural state. Try not to sort of, what's the word? Almost like they said something with manicure or curate. So I think they're just trying to say, try not to like edit these things. Like, for example, just as one example, if you have a character you're working on in a writing thing, or even in something with art, and you have this sort of impulse to fix them or to make them into something that they're not, please don't do that, I think is the advice of Spirit. You have to really let the raw, natural energy of this person or thing to just shine through, because that is truth. That is truth in terms of the universal creativity that you're channeling, and we can't really mess with that. We can't really do much, because we are, it's almost like we have to be truthful and respectful to the original author, which is the universe, I guess, in a weird way, because we're channeling it ultimately. Spirit, what else do we need to know? Advice on their creative project. This one is talking a little bit more about a different energy scope. It's almost like a different, for example, if it's like a different character or a different section of whatever you're working on, this is where we have more order. And that's why I know it's talking about something different, because there's nothing wrong with this Emperor. This Emperor card is not doing anything unnatural. It's almost as if to say this energy needs to be there. That's kind of what I'm feeling here. So as much as this is like free flowing and energetic and bright and just like very adventurous, this Emperor energy comes through and is almost an opposing force in some ways, but it's also a protective one. So in any way that this resonates with whatever you're working on, you can just take it into consideration. It kind of is like, this is a totally different vibe here, but let's say your creative project is something like of a business or a plan or proposal that you're working on. Here is where all the creative inspiration energy is, but over here with the Emperor, this is more like the rules, the regulation, the consideration, the limitations in a physical, practical sense that you have to note. If it's not that, again, we're seeing like a little bit of a swinging energy here where this thing exists and then this thing also has to equally exist. Group 1 kind of got that message where it's almost like yin-yang energy. I'm not exactly getting yin-yang here, but it was just an example. Anything else of the Emperor? The Lovers, yeah. Okay, so this is very interesting to me. This could be very specific for some of you guys. Again, if you're dealing with like characters, for example, this Emperor energy seems very protective, but almost from afar. Maybe we have someone here who appears like they're very stern and focused and like hardened, but in reality they have this huge heart and there's this beaming love coming from them in the soul level. Okay, so however that resonates, if this is more of a practical 3D thing you're working on, same thing. We're having this stern protective energy for the purposes of caring and for for the purposes of love, essentially. Unconditional love. Is there anything else we need to know in terms of if they're blocked or creative advice on their project right now? Yeah, we have the Ace of Cups, which does bring together these two very different energies, okay? But there is this beautiful flow. So this would be kind of cool if you were literally working on music, like some kind of composition with that. I mean, I know zero things about music, but it does show here, you can see for yourself that there's a harmony and a balance to this, right? So I have no idea how to make this resonate, but let's say that if you were working with just one instrument, then you have some other type of instrument or flow or rhythm or whatever that comes in and kind of just creates this unified voice of two different perspectives. I don't know how that could resonate for you guys, but that's just, an example. If you're doing writing, again, this could be something like, okay, maybe this is first person perspective here, and then maybe this is third person. I think you kind of get what I'm saying, that there's just these two sides to things. Again, group 1 did kind of get a similar message, but this is really more pronounced, quite specific. Anything else? There's definitely something that is not ready to be revealed, whether it's because it's not ready in the alignment or maybe you're still nervous, anxious to see that. Can we know about this? I do think it's a little bit of your perspective, and there could be some research you haven't done yet, because with the Queen of Swords there is truth and clarity, answers, facts, something coming to you naturally. And so I advise you guys, what I'm seeing here is in the next 2 days, if you start the process of some form of research, and I'll explain that, you will have the clarity within 2 days from when you're watching this. So when I say research, you could do something as simple as look it up, a Google article. You can look up the symbolism of a character's name. You could look up other places or energies or information to things that are similar to what you're doing, obviously not to copy, but just to kind of see like what's there in the research aspect of it. Other forms of research, I mean, anything where you're just reading up on something, gaining some sort of background knowledge, and that is what's going to help lock this into place, because that's sort of like you're in, that's the window or the door that needs to be opened, and then this will all make sense. This is an interesting pick a card for me so far. Please let me know how this is resonating, because it's very interesting to see how, when I have no idea what I'm looking at. Spirit, any other final messages of advice or guidance for their creative project, or if they're blocked? So I do see some form of closure, completion, or resolution coming to you guys in whatever it was that was more open. So again, if you were working on something like writing-wise, I do see this as a completion of a chapter, or like a section of whatever it was. That could apply to music stuff too. And in terms of if it's more artistic, I think it's more so that you're completing that specific part and you are taking a break after this part and then like kind of starting a new fresh energy after that. Yeah, I mean, it does show that it has, again, a beautiful harmony. It works out. There is this positive vibe to what's going on next. So what do we need to know in terms of advice or anything specific, personalized? This is really nice because we do see a glimpse into what's coming. So from what I am seeing here, in the very close future, you guys are establishing some sort of a new flow somehow. It probably just finds you, you know, it probably just, I'm feeling that this is an awakening within you in some way, with the Ace of Wands, like this passionate energy. And I do think that there's a specific way to make this happen. What they told me with the Ace of Wands was something like you hear it from someone or something. So that falls in line with synchronicities and signs. I have a pick a card for that I did recently. You may want to check it out, where either you ask a guide and they deliver right away, or it just kind of happens where you are receiving a burst of inspiration that was meant to come to you, and this is happening very, very soon. Like I said, could be as soon as up to 2 days, if not like even 1 day. So there's no advice there. This is just simply to be aware of it, that this could come to you very soon. I think that's pretty much all I'm seeing there. Any final words, any final message at all for group number 2? Okay, so this is the Ten of Wands, which is pretty much showing that burden that I was speaking of before. Remember I said to kind of just let it all out and free and flow, and the rest will take care of itself. So I think that's it. It's hard to say exactly how this will resonate, but if it's more so, if this is you, for example, they are asking you to let go of some obligations and responsibilities for a second that are a little bit too much on your plate. Only the ones that you can let go of, obviously, because it's certain things we have priorities, but see if you can let go of a few things on your plate, and this is going to help you to breathe a little bit and then get this flow going. If this is talking about the project itself and something going on within the project, I think this is saying that there's too much going on. So what would help you is simplicity. So whether it's like the scene or the project or the art or the whatever you're working on, go to the simple. Like, don't overcrowd the plate. Don't maybe try not to focus on too much. Just pick one central thing that gives you inspiration, anything at all, right? It could, usually it's a feeling. I'm going to say in this case, it could be just a feeling, or it's not even an event or a character. It's a feeling from that event or that character or that section or that whatever you're working on, and just focus on that. And if you do that, it's going to flow so much more smoothly, okay? So group 2, I think I have to leave it there because at this point I'm going to lose myself and I'm going to get confusing. But yeah, group 2, I think that's what I have for you for today. I hope that this made sense. Please let me know below. If you want a personal reading, because this is obviously general, the link is below. And thank you guys so very much, okay? If you enjoyed this, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. It really helps the growth of my channel. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to hearing what's going on with your projects, okay? Thank you once more. Good luck with everything, and sending you many blessings, and I will see you next time, okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Hey guys, this is the reading for those of you who chose group number 3, the sodalite and the Fill Your Cup with Sacred Giggles card. So what I'm going to do is just give you some highlights from the guidebook, and then I'll move into tarot to get the actual advice and messages for you. So some of the essential meanings for this card, it says completion, the end of a cycle, closure, celebrating a job well done, accomplishments, well-deserved success, being proud of your work, travel, limitless options opening up. The self-care message is not finishing a job, a lack of closure, a time to finish up an overdue or dropped project. So right away I want to say the messages that are coming through, I mean, obviously this can just be a confirmation that very soon you will be completing something that really had some struggle in the past to be completed. So others of you, it could be that you're picking it back up. So if you did have, they're using the word abandoned. So if you had something that you could consider like an abandoned project or idea or whatever, that is going to resurface. And I'm really not surprised, because that's kind of the vibe of the collective I've been seeing. Like, just stuff that needed to come through is just from the deep consciousness, it's resurfacing. Okay. So getting back to what they were saying here, I don't know if this is too small for you to get the screenshot in, but I try. So it says here, yep, giggles, childlike, maybe, but there's deep magic to be tapped into here, so give them some space to bubble up. You are entering a time of completion, as a goal you have been working on is coming to a joyous and prosperous end. This huge accomplishment will have massive implications moving forward, and the whole world is opening up for you now. Go you. Dip your cup into the well of sacred giggles and drink up. It's time to revel in the afterglow of closure and success, and know that you deserve all the joyful prosperity that is coming your way. There is infinite potential on the horizon, so take time to do your success dance and to thank Spirit for getting you this far. This is not a time to play small and act as if it were nothing. Be proud of your accomplishments, as this is a time to say, heck yes, that was massive and I rocked it. Accept this celebratory love wholeheartedly and keep your eyes on the horizon for much more of this energy as you ascend anew. Okay. So, for some of you, that could resonate already with the fact that maybe you have completed it, and congrats, like, if that is the case. Now, if that's not the case, it will be, okay? So please just keep going. Now, getting into some of the messages of how this could help you if you are blocked, or how this is relevant to your actual project. I am feeling the notion of, again, like a break, coming back to form full circle to a degree. I don't know if there was like some break or even some injury. They kind of showed me something with an injury, which was interesting. I think the key to coming back to this full circle is to have faith that it is meant to be finished. I'm getting a vibe of those of you who started something. So let's say it was like a chapter, just to use an easy example. You started a chapter and then it just kind of got left hanging. Or maybe you started something like a musical piece or a poem or a short story or a painting or something. Did I say that already? And then it just kind of is there, right? It does not mean in any way that this thing is like basically dead. It just needs to be, well, I suppose it needs to be resurrected or brought back to life, rejuvenated in some way. Now, some ways that you can do this is you may need to kind of come up with like a fresh perspective. So again, if you're using, if it's the visual example, use some new and fresh colors that you've never done before. Try it in literally different lighting in a different room. If you always work in the dark at night with like lamps, try to work on it in the sunlight, like some natural lighting, or open up the windows or something, or literally you go outside. And that does apply for anything. Like if you're working on a story, go to a different environment. If you're always at home, go to a coffee shop. If you're always, at the office or whatever, like just go to a different setting entirely, even like outside if you can. For some of you, that may not work with all of you though, but just to give it a try. And another way to look at that advice is maybe just think a little bit differently outside the box. And then by doing all this stuff, you will see how things will come back to that original track that it was meant to travel. Okay, so I don't know how that resonated for you. I hope that it made sense, because this is a bit of a tough type of a reading to do with general. So let's see. Spirit, for group number 3, please and thank you. What do they need to hear? What is your advice for them on their creative project? Or if they're blocked. Spirit, what is something that they need to hear? Thank you. Advice. I mean, here, as cliche as it sounds, they said something like, do what makes you happy. But if that is relating to the project itself, again, going back to, let's say, if it's something with writing and you're talking about characters, they're indicating here that you have to really zero in on, just as an example, the character is, like if it's multiple characters, happiness. All right. Now I'm going to add to this. I don't think it's like pure and genuine soul happiness. I think it's just desires and maybe even a false happiness. This is getting very specific. So if it's the example of using of writing and there's characters involved, you may need to spend a little bit of time taking some notes and asking yourself, what does this character or person truly want, right? But it doesn't mean it's going to be good for them, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to match with what their soul wants. It's more like, what is their desire? Even what is their craving? What is their motivation? So doing something like that definitely makes sense. That always is helpful, at least with writing, from my experience, because if you have motivation, you have a story. So if you're doing something more realistic, like some other form of like a writing project, or even something with like a business, you may need to think about that and what does the audience want. What is your target audience? Who are you trying to reach, and what are the wants and the desires and the needs of those people involved? If you're doing something more actually, that's it. That's all I have for that. But in whatever way that resonates for whatever it is you're working on, please let me know. Okay, what else do they need to know? What is their advice on their creative project, or if they're blocked? Now, to add to that just a little bit, if you are doing something with writing or with characters, even if it's art or something like that, if it's a, how can I put this? In fiction, at least, we don't necessarily want to see the character get what they want right away. So what you could naturally think about, well, I'll say, are natural conflicts or obstacles, or at least challenges to get to that point. Again, that could apply for if you're doing something more 3D realistic based. You have to look at the challenges. You have to look at possible obstacles to whatever it is you're trying to get towards and how you might solve them. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so here we have 9 of Pentacles. How is this gonna... So again, I am feeling this vibe of someone really kind of more so looking out for themselves and kind of just thinking about what they want. And even here I am getting a little bit of a hint of sort of greed, I'll say, as well. So that truly depends on what's going on, what you're working on. So let's say if it again is maybe a character or some person or aspect involved, it's really just showing someone kind of just paying attention to their own world, their own bubble. I feel like in terms of development, in like, for example, character development, it could be interesting to do that. So if you haven't done that already, maybe you can take a moment to do that, even if it's 1 page, and say like, only focusing on this character, their perspectives, their wants and desires, their history, okay? But more so like what they truly want for themselves, even if it's selfish, like in the future, okay? So this one, that's a tricky one to apply for all of you guys, but it also could say just like focusing on, if it's not a person or a character, just focusing on one central topic and seeing fully the most that you can get out of that. It's development at this point, right? So spend a page working on that particular thing, topic, person, character, whatever, and really get the most out of that. Okay, what else? What is their creative advice on their creative project, or if they have a blockage? This one is asking to focus on the strengths and talents and I guess even like advantages of what you currently have, okay? So this is where you can spend some nice time. You don't have to do much digging or exploring. You already have this information in front of you. So if you are already good at something, or if a character is already exhibiting some obvious strengths and peculiarities or whatever of themselves, focus in on that and really flesh that out. This goes for also if this is any other creative idea that you already know, you already have a good grasp on, then what they're asking for here is just a further development of that thing that you already have in place. So I guess to put it in more broad terms, this is the energy or the thing that is the most developed, the strongest angle or perspective or topic or like whatever that you already have. Some of you, again, to use writing as an example, like it might be some element of the plot that you already know about. Maybe it's one particular scene, just one. Maybe it's one particular character. I'm not sure how this might resonate for more like artistic stuff, but it's kind of the same thing. You know, like if, let's say that you have like 10 things that you wanted to choose from, and you're like, you know, that's too many. So just focus on the one that is either your greatest strength or the one that you feel is the most strongly developed. I think that could be helpful there. Okay, anything else? Any other messages about if they have a blockage or any advice? Okay, so this is something that someone has already given you, said to you, or provided to you. This is talking about a person from your past, or even that you still talk to, and something that they said or gave you is already coming back and going to be relevant, but you already have this information. So essentially it's kind of coming back around, like I guess they kind of said like a boomerang in a way, which is fitting with the message from before. So how can I... So all you have to do for that one is just to be open to further developments, because again, this piece of information or psychic download or whatever is already at your access. So if you want, you can do a nice gentle meditation and say whatever truth or information or you know, what have you, is meant to come back around towards me. I'm open to it. Is there any hint as to what this could be? It could have been a piece of advice, but it's a very specific piece of advice or idea or component that someone has offered to you. And here it is showing that it may have to do with something that you thought you had decided on, but maybe this is indicating you might actually end up changing your mind, or it's something that relevant to the thing was that it already was sort of on uneven and shaky ground, and it needed to have some sort of conclusion or solution to it, and it like this is going to come back to you, and I think that you have to continue with this. Any other final advice as to where that's going? At the end of the day, you will definitely figure it out, because here with the Empress, you're just kind of going with what's natural and what's flowing. So that's kind of your hidden strength, or maybe your obvious strength, is that it's almost like you're manifesting it, and it's something that you're naturally good at anyway. You don't have to worry about this thing. So just let that happen. Spirit, anything else moving forward to kind of demystify what this message is about? Oh, I see. Well, I mean, this is helpful because it just shows the divine plan. This is the Wheel of Fortune. So here you can see the empty books, right? The blank books. But along the way, your guides are going to truly fill in those gaps. They are going to help to provide you some answers to whatever is mysterious to you. So let's say you have an outline for something, whatever that might be for, or a draft, whatever. They're going to come through and help to plot those points for you so that you can see the bigger picture. But in order to see the bigger picture, that means you have to be taking a step back from it. So you can work on whatever component you need to, but at a certain point towards the end, where you kind of feel like, okay, it's almost there, take that step back, take a breather, relax, and ask your guides in the universe to fill in those final spots for you, and you're going to see what I mean. So they kind of gave me the image of looking up at the night sky with all of the stars. Now, obviously, you could do that literally, and it might inspire you. What else? If you happen to also work well visually and you have a bunch of stuff written on index cards or pieces of paper, put it all out in front of you, like on a really big table or on the floor, on your bed, on the wall even. I used to do that. And you may be able to shift some things around and then see how it all comes together, okay? So if you are blocked and you are so close to what you're looking for, try that out. I think that would be really interesting for artists because, visually, like I'd like to see what comes together. I don't know if any of you ever watched that show Malcolm in the Middle, but there was this episode where the father character, Hal, he had this vision of some fantastic art piece in his head, and like he obsessively worked on it and he really couldn't quite get it. Until finally something just shifted in his mind, and then it just spoiler, it all comes together at the end, but we don't actually see what the painting is, which I find hilarious. But that's kind of that vibe. Like, the final pieces coming together. So I'll leave it that there. But Spirit, any other final messages for group 3 and just anything specific about their project or even blockage? They keep saying, so the final thing here, they said one more time that you already have an answer that came from a conflict or from diversity or from another voice in the chaos. So that is a little tricky to say, but I think all you have to do is just let the clarity come through naturally. There could have been some discourse or even conflict regarding this. Maybe not an argument, but maybe there was a little bit of a disagreement that you may have had, even with yourself, about something in your creative project. But the clarity is going to come through very soon, and just let that clear voice come through, and it will. All right. Final advice. Your final advice, group 3, is, I mean, they kind of just said be willing or ready to receive from the divine, but also to give back. That only resonates if like you have not been working on it at all. You have to give some energy to it. If you've been working too much on it, it's time to receive. But you will have balance. I noticed the justice card on the bottom, again with the scales. The balance, the fairness, the justice, the truth is coming through really, really soon. So, group 3. Whirlwind of messages here, and it's a general reading, so I don't know what I'm looking at, but please let me know, because this is really, it was very an interesting reading. So I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much. If you did find it helpful, then feel free to subscribe. It really helps the growth of my channel. If you want personalized messages, personal reading from me, the info is below. Thank you guys so very much again. Sending you blessings as always, and I will see you next time, okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Hey guys, this is the reading for those of you who chose group number 4, which is the green purple fluorite, and the card that says Collaboration of Souls. So first I'm going to grab for you a few highlights from the guidebook of the Sacred Creators Oracle, that's this deck, and then I will move into the tarot card messages. So immediately they say that collaboration of souls, and this is pretty much what I figured. It says sacred partnerships. Let me just see if you can get the screenshot from this. Okay, so it says sacred partnerships, lovers, a collaboration of like-minded and like-hearted people, support networks, finding your people, mutual benefits, love, and connection. So immediately my message for you guys is, if you are accustomed to working alone, there may in the near future, okay, sorry for the whatever kind of motorcycle that was. I don't know if that's a message for some of you that you know the person literally has a motorcycle. That would be kind of funny. I get comments like that sometimes. So there could be a benefit to you in the near future to actually working with someone, you know? This doesn't mean that you have to share your creative baby. I understand that's like a very touchy subject. But even just sharing ideas will or may be very helpful to you. I think that 2 of the other groups did get some similar message that there could be like a sharing of energy, because even just talking about your project with someone can spark inspiration. It stirs the energy, it kind of stirs the pot, right? Obviously, this really depends on what it is that is your project that you're working on. If it's something more realistic, it's like a business plan, a proposal, or whatever, you may want to consider, like, who can I ask? Like, is there someone with expertise? Is there someone who I can partner with for some of these more difficult tasks, okay? If you're more like, you're still like a solo artist, and if it's like music or art, perhaps you just need to look into a little bit of inspiration from other artists, or even going to certain places, like even like a museum or something, where you're looking at some ancient inspiration, ancient history of things. These are just some things just giving as examples. So your self-care message is doing too much on your own, being overly independent, difficulty trusting others and taking them at face value, problems with partners. Okay, so I get it. Like, I'm definitely a lone wolf as well. So I think that what you guys may need is to maybe seek out someone that you can trust, someone who's soul family to you. So maybe you already have someone in mind. Ask for their advice, maybe ask for their opinion, maybe even a critique, or just gentle conversation, talking with them about it. And then you may be surprised. Okay, so a little bit of the message here. It says your greatest asset is the soul connection you make with others, and those that you make and foster at this time will bring fruitful change to your life. Which sacred unions are you pursuing? Long-term commitments and strategic partnerships are based on trust, love, respect, and an alignment of values, and it's time to actively call collaboration partners into your life. Mentors, clients, friends, lovers, whom do you intend to dance with? You have a choice, and this mutually beneficial union will be a merging of two or more interconnected souls who are veritable kindred spirits. By clearly defining who you are, what you desire, and what you need, you will help them recognize you as you set out to find one another. Know what you want and what you do not, and seek an open and honest exchange with others. When your actions are a truthful reflection of the relationships you expect to find, the perfect people will show up at exactly the right time. Okay, so in whatever way that resonates, but yeah, try to trust the process and the universe a little bit, that maybe you can even manifest people that are meant to help you on your path in any even small way. Just be open to it. Okay, so now getting into the more specific. Spirit, can you please let us know what is your advice for them on their creative project, or if they have any kind of blockage? Thank you. I'm really definitely drawn to the blue here. This blue is just so inspiring in itself. So there could be a message here about throat chakra, maybe, that maybe a lot of you do tend to connect with or through the throat chakra, and that's kind of all you need to keep in mind is allow yourself to speak your truth. Okay, that's a little bit of a separate message. Now here with the Page of Wands, Spirit, what else do they need to know about their creative project, or if they're blocked? They did say with the Page of Wands that this is a little bit of an energy of discovery. So I think that whether you have been working on this project for a while or not, there is a new aspect of it that still needs a lot of discovery. So this could be something that you have not touched in a while or at all. Let's say if it's a book, you need to really work on a certain character's development or a certain aspect of the plot. If it's something like you're a musician or an artist, maybe they're saying here that there could be a certain medium or method that you've never tried before and you always wanted to. So that word discovery is really important here in whatever way it resonates for you. Okay, so we have here the Wheel of Fortune. That's always nice to see. It kind of just makes me feel like we're on the right path. Okay, so this one, no matter what you try to do, there are certain things that we cannot change about our destiny or our destined path, and that includes timing. So, Group 4, it's our favorite message that certain things are going to take more patience, okay? So with the Seven of Pentacles, we also do see the value of cultivating, okay? So it's not just waiting. We're cultivating actively these ideas and these, it's almost like they said a creative baby or a child or some sort of birth in terms of creativity, right? So it's going to be very important that you don't just leave the metaphorical seed in the soil and just walk away. They want you to actively be involved in this process. So a little bit of an unrelated message, but still relevant, is they're asking you to cultivate and nourish your own soul, because it is through your own spiritual development that this Page of Wands will develop, okay? So this is your creativity. So you are going to have to nourish your soul. You are going to have to possibly face some fears. I notice the devil at the bottom. So in whatever way, shape, or form you personally nourish your soul, that is being asked of you right now. So maybe it's just hanging out in nature, cleansing your chakras, meditating, exercising. There could be any number of things. But this is really needed right now. So maybe more joy, more connection with higher powers, more connection with soul friends and family, stuff like that. Okay, so now going back to their creative project, what is the advice? Or if they have a blockage, what do they need to hear? Interesting. There is a possibility, group 4, that there has been something that was ignored. But I don't think it was because you were just trying to be like difficult. I think that it just didn't occur to you, or there was something that didn't make sense at the time. You may have recently, within the last 3 months of whenever you're watching this, you may have already received a sign from the divine directly. Maybe it came through in a dream. Maybe it came through in an audible way, like in your head, you heard it. It's hard to say exactly what this was. I'll try to get a hint for you. But they did kind of say something like you either fell off of it, or they kind of did say ignore, though. So what does this mean, please, Spirit? Can we have some specifics as to what this could possibly be? They draw my attention to the hand. I swear there's always something different on each card, right? The hand, the left hand here. What's going on? I don't know. The left hand could be our receiving hand. Maybe there's something here that you're feeling blocked because you're in some shape or form unable or unwilling to receive something. Maybe you're having difficulty just letting yourself receive. If that's the case, that means that you might be a bit too, I guess, you see how I got stuck there? That's literally the blockage. Okay. It might be because either you're trying too hard or forcing something or controlling something, and therefore, literally, your ability to receive is blocked because of that. Because to receive means the opposite. It means that we're surrendering and letting go. I don't know if that resonates, but here with the 6 of Cups, yes, I do see confirmation that something, some element, some aspect has been essentially ignored in some way. So let's say that, if you feel like this resonates with literally a soul friend or a soul connection or something, or even a spirit guide, you may just have to sit, relax, and receive a message from that particular guide, energy, or person, meditatively, psychically. If you feel like this is more related to your actual physical project itself, maybe there's a character that you've been neglecting. Maybe there's been, again, like a medium or a method or a topic that you've been neglecting or ignoring or something like that. So, is there any other way I can make sense of this? Because it's very mysterious. Okay, so the Fool. Now, I did get a message before I drew this card about the little white flower up top here in the 6 of Cups, and then the white rose. If you did watch my recent pick of cards, I remember exactly talking about that symbol in one of the groups. I have no idea which one, but I'm wondering what they're getting at here. So the white rose and white flower, anything with the color white, could represent purity and innocence. So I don't understand, Spirit. What is the actual message here, please? Oh, well, this is the opposite of that, because this is representing a bit of murky energy, kind of even pollution and things that don't belong. Okay, or conflict. So I think part of the advice here is to cleanse. I think that something is kind of contaminated, honestly. It's hard to say what this is, because what I'm feeling is that it could be an energy stream, a channel from which you are meant to gain clear answers. And that's really not possible right now, or it hasn't really been possible because it's been contaminated. So you may need to spend a little bit of time purifying the energy stream, whether it's your heart chakra or your aura itself. Spend some time to cleanse and cleanse and cleanse. And they're not giving me any further information. Just try to do that and see how it goes. There also could be some significance with the full moon. I just got that milky white energy because that's like the receiving energy, I guess. What else do they need to know? Advice on their creative project. So what they gave you just there was a little bit of the information of if you happen to be blocked, okay? So now we have a little bit of the confirmation here. So we have King of Swords and Two of Swords. So yes, there could be a blockage that, this is more so mentally, right? There could be some aspect of the mentality right now. I don't know if like some of you are stuck on a certain idea, belief, decision. Perhaps the advice there is to be open to changing your mind about something. What else? And now with the Ace of Cups, I feel like this, if anything, is the truth. So if you happen to watch my recent pick of cards, I do talk about how the heart chakra is going to be responsible for opening up your truth. I think it's happening here again for a lot of you. So the way I'm putting all of this confusing stuff together is maybe they're just trying to get you to come back into your inner child purity, right? Maybe think back to your childhood. At least in the parts where it was the creative, pure, imaginative energy, okay, at least that part. And how you were so connected effortlessly to divine forces, the universe, and the present moment, okay? That could be an answer for you. Whether it's you needing to take that step to free yourself, or obviously this could have to do with the content of what you're talking about, whether it's like children or being present and feeling safe, stuff like that. So group 4, this one is very mysterious, but I hope some of this is making sense. Is there anything else we need to know about what is the advice on their creative project, specifically looking into it? I'm kind of getting the same thing. Look at Page of Cups, and then the Four of Swords is showing again like this dormant energy. Maybe there is something within your subconscious. Even if you were to simply meditate or do an inner child healing meditation or any kind of meditation, maybe visualize that child, or I don't know if some of you are feeling like you can't do that, if that's like very uncomfortable for you. Honestly, group 4, if that feels uncomfortable for you, that might be the problem if you are blocked. All right. That might be the answer. So if you feel like you need to do some healing with the inner child, please go and spend some time with that. Take as much time as you need, in fact. So maybe it's like chakra healing, or just, again, doing inner child healing where you're visualizing that child and giving that child love and grace and some form of support and understanding. If you feel like you cannot do that yourself, call upon your higher self, call upon your guardian angels, and ask them for help with this. They're really not giving me too much else, because I feel like this, if it is a blockage, it's kind of in the way. I can't see much. What else do we need to know? Advice on their creative project? Any final messages? They did say that you are able to kind of speak your truth regardless, whether it's through streams of writing or just talking out loud about something. But what's the conclusion here? What's the energy we need to know about here? If some of you have old notebooks or old files, go look at them. There is something important for you to see. That's one piece of advice. It'll click with you. You'll only know what you were looking for once you find it, but you're going to find it. So just do that. That's one thing they wanted to say. And it's going to help to dislodge something that just didn't make sense. It's because you kind of forgot, or it just wasn't to time. That's usually how it works, I guess. Now, others of you, you may need to just allow this to come through within, again, like, you know, things like dreams or unconscious energies. Psychic downloads will come through regardless. You don't really have to do much for that. Any final messages for advice on their creative project, or if they're blocked? Thank you. Well, another reason that you're not getting too much extra information is that you will get it flowing again. We are seeing here with the 9 of Cups and the 8 of Wands that the flow is coming towards you, okay? The happiness, there's happiness, there's fulfillment, there's satisfaction with what you're doing, even if it takes a little bit more time to kind of make sense or just to align. They keep showing me shifting and shifting and shifting, but eventually things shift enough where you will inevitably have some sort of stability. That's kind of just how I see it here. Any final messages for group number 4? Thank you, thank you. Justice. And the Four of Wands, okay? And the Temperance. All of this is talking about balance, healing, peace. So, group 4, I feel like in some way that your group, it was not actually much of advice. I think that you don't really need further advice. You just need to take some of this energy into consideration, these messages, and it is going to move forward regardless. So just let this happen. But the final advice I feel for you is, if you do feel imbalanced within yourself, getting into better balance and being centered and grounded, a little bit more healed, is going to be the best help for you right now, because that is you helping yourself, and it's making way for the energy to settle through and to really resonate with you. So I don't know, that's kind of just what I'm seeing. So like I said, I hope that this resonated. I hope some of this, any of this, was helpful to you guys, because this topic was a bit tricky, but this, for some reason, group number 4 was the trickiest group. So let me know how it goes and how this resonated. But thank you guys so much. And if you want a personal reading, the info is below. Thank you once again. And if you did enjoy this, feel free to subscribe. It really helps the growth of my channel, okay? And best wishes. I will see you guys next time. Blessings. Bye-bye.